Welcome to Mindset Matters Book Club YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like to hear new book summaries.
It's fantastic to be here. And honestly, I'm really excited about this one because we are tackling something that feels incredibly urgent right now. We're talking about the engine of our lives.
Yeah.
The heart.
The heart, yeah.
But not just the physical pump. We're talking about the invisible force that keeps it beating even when the world, or, biology itself, tries to stop it.
That's a poetic way to start, and you're absolutely right. Today we're diving deep into The Healing Power of Resilience by Dr. Tara Narula. And let me tell you right off the bat, because I know what some of you might be thinking, this isn't just another fluffy self-help book telling you to, think positive and everything will be fine.
Oh, far from it. This book is grounded in some very hard science.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's written by a woman who wears two very heavy, very distinct hats. Dr. Narula is a non-invasive cardiologist, so she deals with the plumbing, the electricity, the valves of the human heart every single day.
She's in the trenches.
In the trenches. But she is also a medical journalist.
And that dual perspective is exactly what makes this book so unique and so valuable. As a cardiologist, she sees the mechanics. She sees the heart as a pump, weighing about 10 ounces, beating 100,000 times a day.
Right. She gets the numbers, the data.
She understands the pressure gradients and the ejection fractions. But as a journalist, and frankly, as a doctor who actually takes the time to listen to her patients, she sees the whole person. She looks at the narrative behind the disease.
Right. She isn't just treating a blocked artery. She's treating a person who is scared about their future, about their family. And she opens the book with this central mystery that honestly gave me chills when I read it.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
She talks about how over her career, she's seen patients with hearts so damaged, so scarred, that by all medical logic, they shouldn't be able to walk across the room without gasping for air. Yet these people are out there living full, rich, vibrant lives.
It defies the textbook expectations.
It does. And then on the flip side, she sees other patients with minor, manageable issues, maybe a small arrhythmia or mild high blood pressure, who just crumble.
They fall apart.
They withdraw, they give up, they stop living before they actually die.
It really poses the fundamental question that drives this entire book. Why does the heart fail for some and not for others? And I don't mean mechanically, I mean functionally, in terms of life quality.
Yeah, the will to live, almost.
Why do some people survive trauma and come out stronger while others never recover? Dr. Narula's argument, and this is really the mission of the book, is that the difference isn't just luck. It isn't just genetics or having a better surgeon. It is resilience.
But not resilience in the way we usually talk about it, right? It's not just grit or toughness or sucking it up.
Exactly. She posits that resilience is a physiological tool. It is a new prescription for health. She is trying to bridge the gap between cardiology, the hard science of blood and muscle, and psychology. She calls it the resilience response.
The resilience response. I love that term. It sounds like a superpower, or at least a biological system like the immune response.
It does. It makes it sound active, something you can build.
And looking at our roadmap for today, we have a lot to unpack. We're going to get into the biology of stress, why zebras don't get ulcers, but we do.
The classic.
We're going to talk about why bouncing back is actually a terrible metaphor that sets us up for failure. And we are going to walk through the specific steps she lays out to build this resilience.
It's a comprehensive guide. And I think we should start right where she starts, with redefining what this word actually means. Because I think most of us, we have it wrong.
Oh, absolutely. I used to think resilience was like a rubber band.
Right.
You stretch it, you stress it, you let go, and snap, it goes right back to the exact shape it was before.
That's the goal, right? Get back to normal.
That's what I thought.
And Dr. Narula says that is a myth. A dangerous myth.
Why dangerous?
Because humans are not rubber bands. I mean, if you go through a massive trauma, a heart attack, a divorce, the loss of a loved one, the expectation that you should return to exactly who you were before is a recipe for failure.
Because you can't.
You can't unexperience trauma. You can't unknow grief. The experience changes you fundamentally.
So what's the new definition then?
Well, the book defines resilience not as bouncing back, but as the ability to embrace change, recover, grow, and become a new version of yourself. She uses a beautiful metaphor involving Michelangelo to explain it.
The angel in the marble, right. I highlighted that passage immediately.
Yes. Michelangelo reportedly said, "I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set him free." The idea here is that trauma, life, stress, these things are the chisel.
Okay.
They carve away pieces of us. It's painful. We change shape. But the art remains. We are the marble and the angel. We don't go back to being the square block of stone. We become something new, potentially something more detailed, more refined, and more profound.
That is such a better way to look at it. It takes the pressure off. You don't have to get back to your old self. You get to meet your new self.
It reframes the trauma from a loss of self to a transformation of self.
And this isn't just, some nice philosophical idea. It's rooted in the history of psychology, which the book covers really well in chapter 1.
It is. It's fascinating to see how the science has evolved on this. We used to think resilience was a fixed trait like eye color or height. You either had it or you didn't.
Which is terrifying. Sorry you didn't get the resilience gene. Good luck with that stress. Hope you don't encounter any adversity.
Right. It implies helplessness. But then came researchers like Norman Garmazzi. He was a pioneer. He studied children growing up in incredibly harsh environments, severe poverty, parents with schizophrenia. He expected to find, broken children.
And what did he find instead?
He found that resilience wasn't about being impervious to stress. These kids felt the stress. They suffered. But they had the capacity for recovery. They had protective factors that allowed them to succeed despite the odds.
So it's not about not feeling the pain, it's about what you do after.
Precisely. And then there was Michael Rudder, who studied the Romanian orphans. That was a heartbreaking study. These kids were in institutions with almost zero social interaction. But the findings were surprisingly hopeful.
How so?
It was. Rudder showed that even children who had been deprived of social interaction and affection could recover if their environment changed. It proved resilience wasn't a static thing you're born with. It could be learned and influenced by the environment.
It wasn't fixed in stone.
It wasn't. And then more recently, you have George Bonanno and the resilience paradox.
This is the idea that we are actually designed to be tested, right? That stress isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature.
Yes. Bonanno argues that we have a natural immune system for psychological stress. We aren't fragile glass vases waiting to shatter. We are anti-fragile. The key variable, and this is crucial for you listening, is perception.
Perception.
It's about viewing adversity as an opportunity to grow, rather than just a threat to survival.
To bring this down to earth, Dr. Narula tells the story of Anne. And this story, man, it really anchors the whole concept.
It does. Anne was 47, a mom of 4, totally normal life, and then she has a massive heart attack.
And not just a minor event. Her heart is destroyed. The muscle is dead. She needs a transplant to survive.
Right.
There's no other option.
And Dr. Narula was actually there for this, wasn't she, as a teenager?
She was. She was a 16-year-old intern at the University of Miami, standing in the back of the operating room in a baggy blue paper gown, watching this happen. It was her first exposure to this level of medicine.
Can you imagine 16 years old watching them open someone's chest? But the detail that stuck with me was the box, the styrofoam box.
The cooler. That's how the heart arrives.
Yeah. It arrives in the room, and inside is a stranger's heart, a gift of life.
Yeah.
And Anne, just think about what she had to process.
The resilience required there is staggering. It's not just the physical recovery of open heart surgery, which is traumatic enough on the body.
It's the psychological hurdle. You have to accept that your own organ, the engine of your life, has failed. You have to accept a dying organ is being removed. And you have to accept a stranger's heart into your body.
It's an identity crisis. Is this me? Who am I now?
Exactly. But the book says Anne thrived. She accepted a new lease on life. She didn't try to go back to being the woman she was before the heart attack. That woman was gone.
She became the woman with the new heart.
She became the angel in the marble. She let the experience carve her into something new. She didn't fight the chisel.
And that brings us to the how, because it's one thing to say be like Anne, but how do we do that physically? To understand resilience, we have to understand the enemy. We have to understand what we are being resilient against.
You have to understand stress.
Section 2, the physiology of stress. Or why my heart races when I get an email from my boss with the subject line, "Quick chat."
We have all been there. Dr. Narula breaks this down into 2 categories, acute versus chronic. Acute stress is what the system was built for. It's evolutionary magic.
Yeah. This is the classic fight or flight.
Right. Let's look at the mechanism. The amygdala, the alarm bell in the brain, sees a threat. It signals the hypothalamus. That releases CRH, which triggers the pituitary gland, which hits the adrenal glands, and boom, cortisol, adrenaline,
The energy.
glucose floods your blood. This is great if you are jumping out of the way of a speeding car. You need that energy. You need that focus.
It's life-saving.
Your digestion shuts down. You don't need to digest a sandwich if you're about to be eaten. Your growth hormones pause. Everything goes to the muscles. You jump. You survive, and then, and this is the absolute key, you relax. Homeostasis returns.
The system powers down.
Exactly.
But then there's the other kind, the bad kind. Chronic stress.
This is where the zebra analogy comes in. Dr. Narula references Robert Sapolsky's famous book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. It is such a brilliant comparison.
I love this analogy. It makes so much sense. A zebra gets chased by a lion. It is terrified. It runs for its life. That is acute stress.
The system working perfectly.
But if it gets away, it goes back to eating grass. It doesn't worry about the lion coming back next Tuesday. It doesn't replay the chase in its head while trying to sleep.
Precisely. It doesn't ruminate. Humans, however, we have these big, complex frontal cortexes. So we stress about the mortgage for 30 years. We stress about a conversation we had 5 years ago.
We stress about things that haven't even happened.
We stress about imaginary scenarios that haven't even happened yet. So effectively, our bodies are reacting to a lion chasing us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are marinating in cortisol.
And that is the problem.
That is the problem. As Sapolsky says, if every day is an emergency, we pay a metabolic price.
What is that price? Let's get into the gritty details. What does that constant cortisol bath do to the body?
It's high. It's really high. In the brain, chronic stress is toxic. It can actually shrink the hippocampus. That's your memory center.
Wow, literally shrink it.
It also affects the prefrontal cortex, which handles emotional regulation. So you literally become less able to handle stress the more stressed you are. You lose your cool faster. You forget things.
And the heart. Since Dr. Narula is a cardiologist, I assume the impact there is massive.
It is devastating. Chronic stress increases inflammation throughout the vascular system. It raises blood pressure. It accelerates atherosclerosis, that's plaque buildup.
So it's basically setting the stage for a heart attack.
Dr. Narula uses the analogy of cardiac tone.
Right.
She asks you to imagine a clenched fist.
Okay, I'm making a fist right now.
Now imagine another hand squeezing that fist as hard as it can, that forced, white-knuckled contraction. That is what chronic stress does to your heart muscle and your blood vessels.
Ooh.
It's under constant squeezing tension.
That is a visceral image. It makes you realize that stress isn't just in your head, it's physically squeezing your heart. It's a mechanical issue.
It is, but, and here's the twist, not all stress is bad. We shouldn't demonize stress entirely. Dr. Narula talks about eustress.
Good stress, like the nerves before a first date or the rush of a roller coaster.
Exactly. Or exercise.
Yeah.
Or learning a new instrument. Taking on a challenging project at work that you actually enjoy. This also releases stress hormones, but in a pulsed, controlled way.
So it's like a workout for your stress system.
It builds cardiac tone in a healthy way. It trains the system to turn on and turn off efficiently. It's like interval training for your stress response.
So we shouldn't aim for a life with zero stress. That sounds boring anyway. We should aim for a life with the right kind of stress and the ability to recover from it.
Correct. But our modern sick care system, as the book calls it, doesn't really help us with this.
Yeah, that was a sharp critique. She really calls out the U.S. healthcare system.
She points out that we have a system designed to treat you once you've already had the heart attack. We are amazing at stenting arteries and bypassing blockages.
We're good at the crisis.
But we do almost nothing to help you with the psychological lifestyle that prevents the heart attack in the first place. We treat the pathology, not the person.
We treat the blockage, but not the chronic anxiety about the mortgage that caused the inflammation that caused the blockage.
Exactly. Dr. Narula's resilience response is trying to fix that upstream. She wants to give us the tools to prevent the damage or to recover fully if the damage has occurred.
So let's get into the fix. Let's unpack the resilience response. Step one is acceptance.
Acceptance. It sounds passive, doesn't it? It sounds like resignation.
It does. It sounds like saying, fine, I have heart disease. I guess I'm done. Pass the remote.
But in the book, acceptance is described as an active, fierce state. It's about engaging with reality. She brings up the serenity prayer to illustrate this.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
I usually associate that with AA meetings, not cardiology offices.
Me too.
And yet, it is the perfect medical prescription. Dr. Narula talks about the new baseline. When a diagnosis hits or a tragedy strikes, the old normal is gone. It is dead.
You have to accept that.
You cannot change the diagnosis. That is the thing you cannot change. If you spend your energy fighting the fact that you are sick, you have no energy left to get better.
But you can change your response.
Yes. She features Dr. Lucy Hone, a resilience expert who faced the ultimate test. She lost her daughter, Abby, in a car accident.
That is every parent's worst nightmare. I can't even imagine.
It is. And Dr. Hone realized that the 5 stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, etc., weren't helping her. They felt too passive, like she was just waiting for them to pass.
Like she was a victim of her own grief.
She had to decide to be an active participant in her own grief. She had to move the goalposts. And I remember this part. She had a strategy where she would ask herself a specific question.
Yes, I highlighted this.
She would ask, is what I'm doing right now helping or harming me?
Such a powerful question. It's so simple, but it cuts through the noise.
Exactly. If looking at photos of her daughter made her collapse in despair and unable to care for her other children, that was harming. So she stopped doing it for a while.
That isn't denial. That's survival.
That's acceptance of the new reality and making a choice to function within it.
There was also the story of Gary, the lawyer. He represents a different side of acceptance.
Gary is a great example of the asymptomatic patient. He felt fine. He was successful, master of his universe. But he had a heart murmur. Turns out, 2 of his valves were failing.
He needed surgery immediately.
Talk about a shock. One day you're arguing cases in court. The next day they're cracking your chest open. And his recovery was rough. He had an irregular heartbeat afterward. He was weak.
He couldn't dress himself.
For a guy who was used to being in control, this could have broken him. He could have become bitter. But he used acceptance. He accepted that he was fragile right now. He didn't fight the reality of his weakness. He worked with it.
And then there's Paige, the thriver.
Paige's story is tough. Young woman, stage 4 breast cancer. It kept coming back. But she refused to call herself just a survivor. She called herself a thriver.
I love that.
She viewed her life as a book. The cancer was just the current chapter.
Just the current chapter. That's a great reframe. It implies there are other chapters and that the story isn't about the cancer. The cancer is just in the story.
Exactly. It decentralizes the illness. And that leads perfectly into step 2 of the resilience response. Flexible thinking in denial.
Be the river, not the rock.
Right. Rocks get eroded. They are rigid, so when something hits them hard enough, they shatter. Rivers flow around obstacles. They change course.
So this is about adaptability.
This section relies heavily on the work of Stephen Hayes and psychological flexibility. It's about 3 pillars: awareness, openness, and valued engagement.
And to illustrate this, we have the story of B.J. Miller. This story, I mean, talk about a pivotal moment. He's a sophomore at Princeton, 19 years old.
It's 4:00 a.m. He and some friends decide to climb a parked commuter train car. Just a college prank. But he has a metal watch on.
Oh, no.
And the overhead wires carry 11,000 volts. The electricity irons to the watch did burn him from the inside out. He survived, but he lost both legs and one arm.
19 years old. Athlete. Good-looking guy. And suddenly, he's a triple amputee.
Now, rigid thinking would say, my life is over. I can't be an athlete. I can't be who I was. I am broken. And for a while, surely he struggled.
Of course.
But then he pivoted. He switched his major to art history.
Why art history? That seems like a massive jump.
He wanted to understand how humans create meaning and beauty. He realized that the mother of all fears is death. And because he had come so close to it, and because his body was now different, he felt he had a unique perspective on fragility.
And he used that.
He eventually became a palliative care doctor.
That is the ultimate flexibility. Taking the worst thing that ever happened to you and turning it into your career, your purpose.
He accepted his mortality, which allowed him to live more fully.
Yeah.
He stopped trying to be the rock, the athlete he was, and became the river. He flowed into a new shape.
Dr. Narula also talks about denial here, but in a weirdly positive way with Richard Cohen.
Yes, Richard Cohen, the journalist. His medical history is intense. He had MS, 2 bouts of colon cancer, and was legally blind. But he talks about denial as a tool.
Usually we think of denial as bad. Oh, he's in denial. He won't go to the doctor.
Right. That's maladaptive denial. But Cohen wasn't denying the disease. He knew he had MS. He took his treatments.
So what was he denying?
He was denying the certainty of the outcome. He was denying the idea that the disease got to dictate his life. He called it a formula for living. He used denial as a shield to prevent the disease from consuming his identity.
That's a subtle but important distinction. It's not, I'm not sick. It's being sick doesn't mean I'm finished.
Exactly. And this mindset shift can have real physiological effects. The book brings up the placebo effect to prove this.
The knee surgery study, I love this one.
It's a classic. Patients with bad knees, half got real surgery scraping out the joint, half got a sham surgery. Incisions were made, doctors pretended to operate, but nothing was fixed inside.
And the results were insane.
And both groups reported the same level of pain relief and improved function.
That blows my mind every time I hear it. Because they believe they were fixed, their bodies responded as if they were.
It shows that mindset isn't just fluffy clouds. It triggers neurobiological healing. Belief releases neurotransmitters. It dampens pain signals. It activates the body's own pharmacy.
So if mindset is the software, step 3 is about the hardware, getting fit.
You cannot separate the mind from the body. If your chassis is falling apart, your engine can't run. Dr. Narula is very clear here. Exercise is medicine.
And she doesn't mean get a six-pack. She means neuroplasticity.
Yes, exactly. Exercise regulates cortisol. It burns off that stress hormone we talked about earlier. It promotes the growth of new brain cells. And the guideline is actually quite achievable.
Yeah, it wasn't intimidating.
150 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise a week reduces mortality risk by 21%.
That's like a brisk walk for 20 minutes a day. That is doable for almost anyone.
It is profound. And she introduces us to Andy, the TV producer.
Andy. I loved Andy. He described himself before his heart attack as a gelatinous mass.
Yes, a gelatinous mass. High stress, bad diet, no exercise. He had a heart attack. And he realized he had to change. But he didn't become a marathon runner overnight.
No, he just shifted his lifestyle.
He started moving. And he actually got a tattoo on his arm.
Resilience.
Resilience. It became his brand. And then there's the incredible story of Gabby Giffords.
The congresswoman shot in the head.
An assassination attempt.
Yes.
Severe brain injury, aphasia. She couldn't speak. Her recovery was grueling. She had relearned to walk, relearned to talk. It was a full-time job.
I remember seeing the videos of her therapy. It was just heroic.
But she used that orchestra of experts, physical therapy, speech therapy, and she combined it with that flexible mindset. She returned to public life. She became an advocate. She didn't hide.
No. And her rehabilitation shows that physical resilience, retraining the nerves and muscles, builds psychological resilience. Every step she took was a message to her brain that she was coming back.
Right. And we also can't skip over sleep and nutrition here.
Absolutely.
Briefly, yes. Sleep is the body's repair shop. If you aren't sleeping, you aren't healing. It clears out metabolic waste from the brain. And nutrition, she quotes Michael Pollan. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants.
Simple, but not easy. Okay, step 4. This is a big one. Face your fear.
Fear is the constant companion of trauma. If you've had a heart attack, you are terrified it will happen again. Every twinge in your chest feels like death.
They call it cardiac invalidism, right? People become afraid to move.
Yes, they do. And Dr. Narula talks about the difference between fear and courage. She quotes Rich Deviney, the Navy SEAL.
What's his take?
He says, courage isn't the absence of fear. If you aren't afraid, you might just be reckless or unaware. Courage is dancing with fear. It's recognizing the risk, feeling the fear, and stepping into it anyway.
And for patients, this often means exposure therapy.
Which is the clinical way of saying, do the thing that scares you, but in baby steps.
The book has a great example of this, the case study of Chris.
Chris. He loved the woods. It was his sanctuary. But after his heart attack, he was terrified to be alone. What if his heart stopped out there? No one would find him. So he stopped walking.
Which is tragic because walking in the woods is exactly what would help his heart and his stress. The fear became the enemy.
Exactly. The fear was causing the exact behavior that made him less healthy. So Dr. Narula suggested a plan. Start small.
Really, Sal?
Walk to the edge of the yard. Stand there. Realize you didn't die. Next day, walk to the tree line. Next day, 10 feet into the woods.
Reclaiming his sanctuary, one step at a time.
And eventually, he was back to his long walks with his dog. He didn't just get over it. He retrained his amygdala. He taught his brain, see, we're safe. This is habituation.
This also ties into CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes. Identifying negative thought loops I will never recover. I am a ticking time bomb. CBT challenges those thoughts. It asks, is that true? Do we know that for a fact? What is the evidence?
It dials down the anxiety by engaging the logical brain. Moving on to step 5, build connections and seek love. This might be the most important one.
It's one of the most critical sections, for sure. Dr. Narula says loneliness is a toxin. It is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day in terms of health risk.
That is an insane statistic, 15 cigarettes a day.
It is. And that Harvard study she cites is famous for a reason.
The Grant study, it's been going on forever.
It followed men for 75 years. The #1 predictor of health and longevity wasn't cholesterol levels or income or IQ. It was satisfaction in personal relationships.
That is wild. Better relationships, longer life. period.
She breaks down why using Dan Siegel's 4 S's to be resilient, we need to feel seen, safe, soothed, and secure.
Seen, safe, soothed, and secure.
If you have people in your life who make you feel those 4 things, your biology changes. Your cortisol goes down, your immune system function improves. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, is released, which is actually cardioprotective.
It protects the heart.
It does. But the problem is the compare and despair trap.
Oh, social media. Everyone else is on vacation in Italy, and I'm here with a heart monitor.
Right. Assuming everyone else is happier isolates us. It breaks connection. We need radical acceptance and real vulnerability. We need to say to our friends, I am struggling, rather than pretending we are fine.
She tells the story of Bob and Lisa. Bob had colon cancer and heart failure. That is a rough combination.
It is. But his wife, Lisa, was his rock. Her support allowed him to keep his sense of humor. There's a scene where he's declining physically, but he cracks a joke, and Dr. Narula says to Lisa, he's back.
Even as his body failed, his spirit, buoyed by her love, was resilient.
Love buffers stress. It's a biological fact. And it's not just romantic love. It's community. It's self-compassion, treating yourself with the kindness you'd offer a friend.
Finally, step 6, hope, faith, and purpose.
This is the spiritual engine of resilience. And we have to distinguish hope from just wishing.
Right. Wishing is, I hope I win the lottery. Hope is...
Hope, in a psychological sense, specifically referring to Snyder's hope theory, requires agency and pathways. Agency means believing you have the power to act. Pathways means finding ways to achieve the goal.
So it's active.
It's, I want to get better, I believe I can get better, and here's my specific plan to do it.
And data backs this up.
Absolutely. High hope correlates to lower mortality and less chronic pain.
She talks about the ripple effect of hope, the story of Dr. Astrid Heger.
This is a beautiful story. Dr. Hager is a pediatrician and expert in child abuse. She was asked to help a young girl, Jennifer, who had been trafficked, a sex slave, 14 years old.
Oh, that's horrible.
Dr. Hager only had a short time with her before Jennifer was sent back to Hong Kong. She felt like she failed. She couldn't rescue her in that moment.
She couldn't save her.
But she treated her with dignity. She gave her 5 minutes of pure human kindness and hope. She saw her. 10 years later, she gets a letter.
From Jennifer.
Jennifer's a grad student at UCLA. She wrote, when you stopped, you changed my life. Those 5 minutes of hope were the seed. That is the ripple effect. You never know when your resilience, your hope, will jump to someone else.
And purpose ties into this. Finding your why.
Dr. Narula gets into the cellular level here with telomeres. These are the caps on our chromosomes, like the plastic tips on shoelaces. They shorten as we age. When they get too short, the cell dies.
But a sense of purpose can change that.
It seems to maintain telomere length. Purpose is literally anti-aging at a cellular level.
And for a case study, we have Sanja Wasden.
Sanja, bipolar disorder survivor, suicide survivor. She felt her life was impossible. But she wrote a book, An Impossible Life. She started speaking about mental health. She found purpose in her pain.
Her purpose.
That purpose keeps her resilient. It gives her reason to take her meds, to exercise, to stay alive.
There's a practical exercise here, too. The pie exercise.
Dr. DiPiero's method. I love this. You draw a circle representing your identity. If you have a chronic illness, it's easy to let the illness slice take up the whole pie. I am a cancer patient. I am a heart patient.
That's depressing. And limiting.
It is. The exercise is to force yourself to slice the pie correctly. Yes, patient is a slice. But so is mother, friend, gardener, employee, music lover.
You have to realize the illness is just one slice of who you are.
That is so healthy. It keeps the illness in its place.
Exactly. So let's wrap this up. We have walked through the resilience response. Let's recap the checklist.
Okay, step 1, acceptance. Acknowledge reality. Stop fighting the diagnosis.
Step 2, flexible mindset. Be the river, not the rock.
3, physical health. Exercise, sleep, nutrition. Build the chassis.
4, face your fear. Dance with it. Don't run from it.
5, connection and love. Find your 4 S's. Don't go it alone.
And 6, purpose. Find your why. Keep your telomeres long.
That's it. That's the response.
Dr. Narula talks about the 9 lives patients.
The ones who survive against all odds. They almost always share these traits. And the beauty of this book is the message that resilience is accessible to everyone. It is a skill, not a gene.
You can learn it.
That is the most hopeful message of all. You aren't born with a fixed amount of resilience. You can build it today.
You can. Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground. Before we sign off, I want to remind everyone to please subscribe and like the Mindset Matters Book Club YouTube channel for more summaries like this.
Definitely.
One final thought for our listeners to take with them.
I want to leave you with the concept of the resilience paradox that we touched on earlier. Is it possible? Is it just possible that the worst thing to happen to you could actually be the catalyst for the best version of yourself?
That is a big question.
It is. So look at your current struggle, whatever is stressing you out today, and ask yourself, is this my angel in the marble? Is this the chisel that is carving me into something better?
Wow. I'm going to be thinking about that all week. Thank you all for listening to this deep dive into the healing power of resilience.
Take care of your hearts, everyone.
See you next time.